Hello viewer, welcome to Elimu TV, the only TV station where you watch and learn. This is History and Government Form 4 and it is Lesson 2. I am your teacher, Mr. John Gatuma. In our previous lesson, I gave you an assignment and this was you attempt this question, and I believe you are able to go through and you have the solution. And therefore, before we start the lesson, I want us to go through the two questions together so that you can get these answers. Now, question 1 was, explain 5 causes of the World War I, and it was 5 marks. So the causes of the First World War is number 1, the militarism. The countries in Europe, they had deployed militaries which were trained. Each country wanted to outdo another in terms of the troops. Therefore, this competition made the First World War to start. Reason number 2, or the causes number 2 for the World War I was the assassination of the Archduke Franz Ferdinand. And this happened in Sarajevo. The assassination was known as the Sarajevo assassination, and it was done by a terrorist known as the Gavrilo Princip, who killed an heir of that kingdom. And therefore, the war broke in Europe because of this. Number 3 was the arms race. The countries in Europe were competing against each other to produce the more sophisticated and dangerous weapons. These weapons could cause millions of casualties, and therefore the countries engaged in war. Another reason was the systems of alliances. There were some countries, the countries came together so that they can fight against one another, and this was following the agreement or among them. These alliances were Triple Alliance, the 2 Triple Entente. The two opposing sides, they engaged in war, and the Triple Entente, they emerged as the winner. Those were the causes of the World War I, among many other. You just need to use mania. By using mania, M we said is militarism, A we said is assassination, N is nationalism, A is assassination of Sarajevo assassination. So when you use this one, you are able to capture the causes of the World War I. Question 2 is, name 2 alliances that were formed. The 2 alliances were Triple Entente and Triple Alliance, or rather the Central Power. So today, for the lessons of today, we shall continue on the first chapter, and this is the cause of the war, the cause of the World War. This is to say, the path that was followed so that these countries can engage in a very serious war that actually started in 1914 to 1918. The cause of this war is started by Austria refused to declare war on Serbia on 28th on July 1914. And the German demanded Russia to mobilize her army. Hence, Germany declared war on her on 1st of August 1914 when she refused. This one came following the assassination in the Sarajevo. So the Serbia, the Austria refused to declare war on the Serbia, and therefore the German demanded Russia to mobilize her army so that Germany can declare war. When she refused to mobilize, the Germans declared war on her. The Germans Germany wanted France to remain neutral, but France refused. Hence, Germany declared war on her again on 3rd of August 1914. You can see the path that is being followed. The German, in this case, it's demanding France to remain neutral, but France refused. Remember, Germans, they had taken the two territories, that is the Alsace and Lorraine, which belongs to the France. The British, on the other side, joined the war on 4th of August 1914 when Germany invaded Belgium. Belgium was a very small country, a neutral country, a very small one. But now, Germany invaded them. But when it invaded them, the British wanted to help Belgium, and therefore it declared war. It joined war on 4th of August when it waged war against the Germans. The war, the First World War, there were 3 major fronts in Europe. The 3 major fronts, or rather this course of the war, it was based on the 3 major fronts. This is one, the Western Front. This front extended across the Belgium and northeastern France to the border of the Switzerland. The Germany, it was a war between the Germany versus France and Great British. This is to say, German on one side and France assisted by Great Britain on the other side. This war was known as the Western Front War. We are going to discuss them. Number 2 was the Eastern Front. This front ran from the Baltic Sea to the Black Sea. This is to say, Germany and Austria-Hungary on one side versus the Russia on the other side. And because these countries, they were on the eastern side of Europe, they engaged into war. We shall see this one is known as the Eastern Front War. We're going to discuss them in detail. The third was the Southern Front. And this front, it started or ran from between Italy and Austria. Rather, this is to say, the Austria-Hungary on one side and the Italy on the other side. Being the countries on the southern part, they engaged into war. So the fighting also took place in the Northern Sea. Other areas is the Northern Sea, the Atlantic Ocean. We're going to see war, the sea. Africa, they were also engaged in this war. Remember, they were colonized. The Middle East, they also engaged into war. We're going to see these countries. And even in Asia and the Pacific Ocean. So this is how the clear pictures of how the war intensified. Now, we shall discuss the Western Front as the first front of this war. The German fought British and France. We say the German, it was a war between German fighting France and French forces. But later, the USA, it joined in 2 years' time. And it joined on the side of the British and the France. This occurred in line with the von Schlieffen Plan of 1905. And we shall see this Schlieffen plan. This was the man who came up with this plan was known as the von Schlieffen plan. It was known as the Alfred von Schlieffen. The Alfred von Schlieffen. And he came up with this plan. And this plan was the war in the West. It was fought in Belgium and France as per this plan. And therefore, the Alfred von Schlieffen, he was actually a chief of the German General Staff in 1905. he had a plan in 1905. And this was, it laid plans for the war against the France. They wanted to fight against the France. So von Schelfen believed that if Germany went to war, this was the plan, that if Germany went to war, it would be against France and Russia. You can see this, that if the German went to the war, it would be against the France and the Russia. So the Russia will be rather defeated by the German. But this one, it meant that the German would fight on two fronts. So the Schelfen plan was therefore intended to deal with this possibility. And therefore, the plan was it was gambled on the slow mobilization of the Russian forces. The Russian mobilizes its forces, and this one was for the rapid attack to the France through the Belgium. That is ideally how it is, such that the Belgium, being a very small country, the Russian forces will have a rapid attack on the France through Belgium. The German invaded, as it was planned, the German will see invaded the France. You can see the France was being invaded. Let us see in the next plan. You can see the Western Front well represented here. You see the Germans invaded Belgium as planned, but it was unfortunately the Belgians put up a very strong resistance. The Belgium, despite being very small countries, they set up a very strong resistance. They could resist until the other strong powers, that is the British, could come and help them. You can see the France, they go and help, they are going to help the Belgium. The Belgium was assisted by the France and the British. And this is by putting the Germans at the stalemate, such that they can wait the strong powers to come. So these forces under the Sir French, we have forces that were led in France. It was led by the Sir John French. It reached Belgium very quickly. But in spite of the British entry into the war, the Germans fought on. So within the 3 weeks, 3 weeks from the start of the war, they were on the outskirts of Paris. They were at Paris. So that is the French capital. So their advance was, however, slowed down by the combined British and France forces. So ideally, because of the help of the France and the British, the war was at a stalemate. So you can see the red representing the central power forces, the blue, in this case, representing the Allied power forces. And you can see that is the farthest German advance in 1914. The stabilizing front, we had the stabilizing front, and finally the amnestic line. Well, these are now the countries now in the action. They are fighting now. You see the countries, such as the Belgium, being at the center between the France and the German. So according to this plan, the von Schelfen, you realize that the Belgium is being targeted at the center. But now, the British, you see the British, they joined, or rather they merged with France forces so that they can help the Belgium. The German was defeated in this because the Belgians, being very small, they gave a very strong resistance. The countries that were involved in this, that were majorly fighting, that is the France, as we summarize this, the France, the Germany, the Austria-Hungary, and the Russia. These were the main countries. Why not the Belgium? The Belgium was targeted, but because of this plan, the France joined the British to fight against the Germans. So this was a plan laid for war against the France through the neutral Belgium. So the German wanted to use the fortnight. The plan was about fortnight, 2 weeks, to capture Paris, to force British sign peace treaty. This plan did not succeed, however, as German forces were defeated by the British and the France armies. Well, the war was fought on the hedges, making it static and bringing stalemate in battle. The two sides, they marched. In other words, they had the same capacity or the strength. No one was a winner at the beginning. They made a stalemate. So the opposing side dug out the trenches across the France and Belgium for protection against the machine guns. The machine guns, they could cause millions of casualties. But because of the protection that was the trenches that was used as a protection, the Germans, the soldiers, or rather the forces, they could hide in these trenches. And this one is the one that made the war prolong. So let us see these trenches that were dug. You can see the trenches that were dug across the France and the Belgium for protection. So instead of exposing the whole body to the enemy, so by use of the trenches, they could hide as they target their enemies. So with these trenches, millions of soldiers, they could kill the Germany. The France and Belgium used this as their protecting garment. So, having discussed the first front, that is the Western Front, I want us to wind up the lesson by giving you some assignment. This one again, go and try at home, go and do a thorough research, and in the next lesson we shall review them before we introduce the third lesson. So attempt this question, that is number 1. You explain the Western Front War, that is 5 marks. State the result of this war, that is 2 marks. So thank you for staying tuned to Elimu TV. This is where you will learn, will watch and learn. I have been your teacher, Mr. John Gatuma. See you in the next lesson. Thank you.